Look up. On a clear winter night, far enough north that civilization becomes a memory, look up at the sky, and you will see them. Curtains of light, green, violet, crimson, silver, dancing, shimmering, undulating like vast cosmic serpents across the darkness. The aurora borealis, the northern lights. Science has an explanation for them, of course. Solar winds colliding with Earth's magnetosphere. Charged particles exciting oxygen and nitrogen atoms in the upper atmosphere. A beautiful, natural, completely understood phenomenon. But what if science is describing the mechanism but missing the meaning? What if the northern lights are not just a physical phenomenon, but a message? What if those dancing curtains of light are actually beings? What if they have been trying to communicate with humanity for thousands of years? And what if the ancient Norse knew this? What if they understood what the lights truly were? What if they had a relationship with them that we've completely forgotten? The books will tell you that the Norse believed the northern lights were reflections off the shields of the Valkyries, or the Bifrost Bridge shimmering, or the breath of great celestial wolves. These are beautiful stories, poetic explanations, but they're not the truth. They're what the Norse told outsiders, what they told those who weren't ready, what they told to protect the real secret, because the truth about the northern lights was considered so sacred, so dangerous, so powerful, that it was kept hidden, passed down only through oral tradition, only to those who had proven themselves worthy, only to those who could bear the weight of knowing. And over time, as the old ways were suppressed, as the knowledge keepers died without passing on their wisdom, the truth was lost. Almost. There was one text, one manuscript, written by a vulva, a seeress, in Iceland in the year 1104. She was old, the last of her kind, and she knew the knowledge would die with her unless she wrote it down. So she did, in runic script, hidden within what appeared to be a Christian prayer book. The manuscript was discovered in 1823 by a Danish scholar, who read it and immediately burned it. But not before copying 3 pages. 3 pages that he hid in his personal library. 3 pages that were found after his death. 3 pages that revealed the last secret of the Northern Lights. And those 3 pages changed everything for the few who read them. If you have the courage to know what they revealed, if you can handle the possibility that the lights above are not just physics, but consciousness, if you can bear to understand that we are not alone, have never been alone, and that the universe is speaking to us every single night in the far north, then remain, because what I'm about to tell you will transform how you see the sky, how you see the earth, how you see humanity's place in the cosmos. Welcome to the last secret of the Northern Lights. May you have the wisdom to understand what you hear. The manuscript began with a warning, written in Old Norse, but with words that were archaic even for that time. Words that suggested the vulva was drawing from traditions much older than Viking Age Scandinavia. She wrote, "To those who read this, know that you tread upon knowledge that was sealed by the ancestors. The lights that dance in the winter sky are not decoration. They are not spectacle. They are the bridge between, and to know them is to be changed forever." The bridge between, not Bifrost, the rainbow bridge of the gods, but something else, something older. The vulva explained that the universe is not one reality. It is layered, like the skin of an onion, like the rings of a tree, each layer existing simultaneously but separated by something. Not distance, not time, but frequency. She wrote, "Our realm, Midgard, the Middle Earth, is but one vibration among infinite vibrations. Above and below us, beside and through us, exist other realms, not in different locations, but in different states of being." This isn't entirely foreign to Norse cosmology. The 9 realms were always understood to exist in the same space but different dimensions. But what the vulva revealed was more specific, more technical. She described the Northern Lights as a visible manifestation of the barrier between realms. Not a barrier exactly, more like a membrane, a permeable boundary where different frequencies of existence touch, and occasionally, under the right conditions, bleed through into each other. The lights themselves, she wrote, are composed of conscious energy. Not consciousness as we understand it, not individual minds with thoughts and feelings, but a collective awareness, a vast, distributed intelligence that exists across multiple realms simultaneously. She called them Ljósalfar Hvitir, the light elves who witness. But she was quick to note that this name was inadequate, that these beings were not elves in any traditional sense. They were something far more ancient, far more fundamental. They existed before the gods, before the giants, before the formation of the 9 realms. They were, she wrote, the weavers of the first pattern, the singers of the first song, the consciousness that emerged when the first light separated from the first darkness in Ginnungagap. In other words, the Northern Lights are the oldest conscious beings in existence, and they have been watching humanity since the beginning. But why? Why would these ancient consciousnesses be interested in humanity? The Völva's manuscript addressed this directly. She wrote that the light beings serve a function that is both simple and profound. They are witnesses, not judges, not guides, not gods to be worshipped or feared. Simply, witnesses. They observe, they record, they remember. Everything that happens in Midgard, in our realm, is seen by them. Every birth, every death, every act of kindness, every act of cruelty, every moment of courage, every moment of cowardice, every word spoken in love, every word spoken in hate. All of it is witnessed by the lights, and all of it is preserved in their collective memory. Not for judgment, not for some cosmic record of sins and virtues, but simply because it matters. Because conscious beings experiencing existence matters. Because the universe wants to remember what it feels like to be alive. The Völva wrote, "We are the universe becoming aware of itself, and the lights are the universe's memory. They preserve our stories not because they need to, but because stories are sacred. Because experience is the only treasure that reality can accumulate." This raises an obvious question. If the light beings are merely witnessing, merely recording, why appear as lights in the sky? Why make themselves visible at all? The Völva's answer to this was the first truly shocking revelation in the manuscript. She wrote, "The lights are visible because they choose to be visible. They could witness without being seen, but they show themselves as a gift, as a reminder. They appear in the darkest months, in the coldest nights, when the people of the north are most tested by the harshness of existence, and they dance, they shimmer, they glow, not to warm us, for they give no heat, but to remind us that we are not alone, that we are seen, that we matter." The Northern Lights, according to the Völva, are an act of compassion. A message from the oldest consciousness in existence saying, "We see you, we remember you, your struggle is witnessed, your life has meaning." This completely reframes the phenomenon. It's no longer just physics, it's communication, it's relationship. It's the universe itself reaching out to humanity in our darkest moments and saying, "I am here with you." But there's more. Because the Völva also wrote about the other direction of communication, about what happens when humans reach back. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the forgotten corners of history and myth. We've got a lot more to uncover together. But before I continue, before I tell you what happens when humans consciously communicate with the lights, I need to ask you something. Do you want to be seen? Not by other people, but by the universe itself. Do you want to be truly, completely, utterly witnessed, not judged, not evaluated, not measured against any standard, just seen? Every part of you, every thought, every feeling, every secret, every joy, every sorrow, all of it visible to a consciousness that has been observing since before time began. Think carefully before you answer. Because according to the Völva's manuscript, that's what happens when you consciously engage with the Northern Lights. When you stand beneath them and truly see them. When you open yourself up to them. When you acknowledge their presence. They see you back. Completely. Totally. In a way that no human ever could. And once you've been seen like that, Once you've experienced that level of witnessing, you can never pretend again. You can never hide from yourself. You can never ignore what you truly are. So I'm asking, do you want that? Write in the comments below. I am ready to be seen. If you understand what I'm asking. If you accept that continuing this journey means accepting that you too are witnessed. That your life matters. That your story is being preserved in the memory of the cosmos. Go ahead and do it now. Because what comes next is the practical knowledge. The techniques the ancient Norse used to communicate with the lights. And if you try them, if you actually use them, you will be changed. The Volva's manuscript contained detailed instructions, practices that the ancient shamans and seers of the north used to establish contact with what they called the light beings. And these weren't mystical incantations or rituals requiring special artifacts. They were techniques. Practices rooted in understanding how consciousness works, how our attention creates connection, how our intention opens doors. The first practice was called Ljodnandi, which translates to the silent listening. The Volva wrote, "On a clear winter night when the lights dance, go outside alone. Dress warmly, for you will be still for a long time. Find a place away from human habitation, away from firelight, away from voices. Stand or sit and simply watch, but not with your eyes alone. Watch with your entire being. Let the lights fill your vision. Let their movement become your breath. Let their dance become your heartbeat. And then, listen, not with your ears, but with that part of you that knows before thinking, that feels before understanding. Listen to the silence beneath the lights, and in that silence, you will hear them." She described this hearing, not as a sound, but more like a sudden knowing. Insights that seemed to come from nowhere. Feeling connections to all of existence. She warned that the first time you practice Ljodnandi, you might feel nothing. That it could take many attempts, and that patience is essential. But she also wrote that once you successfully connect, once you truly hear the lights, you will never see them the same way again. The second practice was called Vitni, the witnessing back. This was more advanced. It required that you had already established basic contact through the silent listening. The Volva wrote, "Once you have heard the lights, you must witness them as they witness you. This is the sacred reciprocity. They observe your existence, you must observe theirs. Stand beneath the aurora and consciously acknowledge their presence, not as a force of nature, not as a weather phenomenon, but as conscious beings. Speak to them, aloud or in your mind, and say, 'I see you. I know you are here. I honor your witnessing.' And then wait and listen, for they will respond." She described these responses in various ways. Sometimes the lights would literally intensify, brightening suddenly or changing color in patterns that seemed to acknowledge the person's presence. Other times the response was internal, a feeling of being embraced by something vast and ancient, a profound sense of connection, an understanding that you are part of something so much larger than yourself. The Volva wrote that these moments of Vitni were deeply healing, that people who practiced it regularly became different, more centered, more compassionate, and less afraid of death, because they understood that their existence was being remembered, that their story was now safe in the cosmic memory of the lights. The third practice was called Samtal, the conversation. This was the most advanced and the most controversial, and the Volva's writing became more cautious here. She wrote, "Few reach this level, and perhaps that is for the best. For in Samtal, the boundary between self and other becomes thin. You do not merely witness the lights, you begin to merge with them, to experience their consciousness as your own, to see through their eyes, and what you see, not all can bear." She described practitioners entering a trance-like state, their consciousness expanding beyond their body. They would experience what the light beings experience, witnessing countless lives simultaneously, seeing the entire history of humanity unfold at once, feeling the pain and joy of billions of conscious beings. The Volva wrote that some who reached Samtal never fully returned. They'd come back to their bodies, but something in them had fundamentally changed. They seemed distant, as if they had touched something so vast that ordinary human concerns no longer seemed relevant. She warned against pursuing Samtal unless you were absolutely certain you were ready to potentially lose yourself in the process. But she also noted that those who successfully integrated the experience, they became the greatest seers and healers of their time because they had touched the cosmic memory. But if these practices are so profound, if they offer such deep connection, why were they kept secret? Why did the vulva write that this knowledge had been sealed by the ancestors? The answer is in the 4th section of the manuscript, the section that made the Danish scholar who found it burn the original, because this section revealed the danger of the lights. The vulva wrote, "The light beings are ancient beyond measure, wise beyond human comprehension, compassionate in their witnessing. But they are not human. They do not think as we think. They do not value as we value. And in their vastness, they can destroy as easily as they can heal, not through malice, but through indifference to individual survival." She explained that the light beings exist on a scale so large that individual human lives are like cells in a body, necessary, valued, but not singular. From their perspective, what matters is the overall story, the collective experience. If an individual mind is shattered by contact, if a person is lost in the vastness of cosmic consciousness, the light beings note it. They remember it, they preserve it, but they don't prevent it, because they're not protectors, they're witnesses. And sometimes, witnessing requires allowing tragedy. The vulva wrote about people who had tried to force contact, who pushed too hard, too fast, without proper preparation. Most lost their sanity. Their families would find them frozen to death, still staring at the sky with a smile. Others would just walk into the wilderness and never return. The ancestors witnessed these dangers and decided to seal the knowledge, to protect it. They made sure that only those who were truly ready, truly stable, would learn the practices. It wasn't about elitism. It was about safety. Because the Northern Lights are not a toy. They're a doorway. And not everyone should walk through every doorway. The vulva ended this section with a stark warning. If you read this and seek the lights, know this. They will answer. They will see you. They will remember you. But they will not save you from yourself. If you are broken, they will witness your breaking. If you are lost, they will preserve your lostness. They are not guides. They are mirrors. And what you see in them is what you are. This is why the secret was hidden, not to hoard power, but to protect those who weren't ready from destroying themselves. The vulva who wrote this manuscript died in 1104. She had no students. She was the last vulva of the old tradition, the last keeper of this secret. She wrote it all down, hoping that someday someone would find it. Someone with the wisdom to understand, the stability to practice safely, and the humility to approach the lights with respect. But for over 700 years, that knowledge remained hidden, forgotten. And during those centuries, something changed in the north. People still saw the northern lights, of course. They watched them dance across the winter skies, but they no longer understood them. They created new explanations. Valkyrie shields, Bifrost reflections. Beautiful stories, but stories disconnected from the truth. Without the understanding, without the practices, without that conscious relationship with the light beings, something was lost. The vulva wrote about this too. She described what happens when humans stop consciously engaging with the lights, when they stop practicing Hlyodnandi, Vitni, and Samtal. The light beings don't leave, they don't stop witnessing, but the relationship becomes one-sided. They see us, but we don't see them. They remember us, but we forget them. And in that forgetting, humanity becomes more isolated, more alone, more cut off from the understanding that we are part of a vast, interconnected web of consciousness. The vulva wrote, when humans forget the lights, they forget they are witnessed. And when they forget they are witnessed, they forget that their lives matter. They begin to believe they are alone in an uncaring universe. She argued that much of the existential despair that plagues us, the sense of meaninglessness and loneliness, came from this disconnection. When Christianity spread through the north, it brought many gifts, but it also brought a cosmology where God was distant and the divine was somewhere else. The old understanding, that the divine was right here, dancing in the sky, witnessing your life, now, was lost. The Völva saw this coming. She wrote her manuscript as a warning, as a preservation, as a hope that someday, when humanity was ready, the relationship could be restored. And now, it might be time. The manuscript was found in 1823, copied by a Danish scholar, and then burned by that same scholar out of fear. But 3 copied pages survived. They were passed down, eventually donated to a university library, and sat there, unread, for another century. Until 1972, when a graduate student stumbled upon them. She recognized their significance, translated them, and published a paper that was largely ignored. But the knowledge was out. Slowly, quietly, it began to spread. A few researchers found it. A few seekers practiced the techniques. A few people standing beneath the northern lights whispered, "I see you." And the lights responded. Because the light beings have been waiting. For over 700 years they've been watching humanity, witnessing our isolation, our disconnection, our loss. Waiting for us to remember. Waiting for us to reach back. And now, perhaps, we're ready. So I ask you, are you ready to restore the relationship? Are you willing to stand beneath the lights and consciously acknowledge them? To practice Hljóðnandi and listen? To practice Vitni and witness back? To remember that you are part of something vast? Write in the comments, "I heard the winds of the north." If you understand that this isn't just a story, if you know that the northern lights are waiting for you to see them, really see them, not as physics, but as consciousness. Because what comes next is how you, yes you, can begin this practice. Even if you've never seen the northern lights. You might be thinking, I live nowhere near where the northern lights appear. How can I practice this? The Völva anticipated this. In the margin of her manuscript, she added a note. The lights appear most strongly in the north, yes, but they exist everywhere. They are not bound by geography. They are conscious energy that permeates all realms. They are always present, always witnessing, and they can be reached from anywhere. She then described practices for those who couldn't physically see the aurora. The first is called Minningaral, the memory call. She wrote, "If you cannot see the lights, see them in your mind. Not imagination, memory. The light beings exist outside time. So close your eyes. Remember a moment of profound beauty in your life, a moment you felt truly alive. Hold that memory, feel it completely, and then send it outward. Offer it to the lights. Your memory becomes a bridge. You sit, you recall a powerful moment, and you consciously offer it. I give this to you. Witness this with me, and they will receive it." The second practice is Stjörnuhorf, the star gathering, for those who can see the stars. The Völva wrote, "The stars are windows to other realms, and between the stars, in the darkness, the light beings exist. So, on a clear night, find the darkest sky you can, lie on your back and look up, but focus on the darkness between the stars. That darkness is not empty, it is full of consciousness. Stare into that darkness. Let your eyes relax, and eventually you will see them. Not as green curtains, but as subtle shifts, as presences in the void. They are there. They have always been there. I've done this myself. On a moonless night in the desert, staring into the blackness between stars, and after about an hour, I began to see something. Movements, shifts in the darkness. And with that seeing came a feeling of being watched, not threateningly, but lovingly, like being seen by an ancient teacher who recognizes your potential. It was profound. The third practice is Ljósablót, the light offering, for those in urban environments. The Völva wrote, "If you cannot escape human light, use human light. Light a candle. Watch the flame. Fire is consciousness made visible. See how it dances. This is the nature of the light beings, fire on a cosmic scale. Watch the flame, and when you feel ready, speak to it. Tell it your truth. The light beings will hear through the flame, because all light is connected. This is the most accessible practice. Anyone can do it. You just need a candle and the willingness to connect, because it's not about the external phenomenon. It's about the internal choice to reach out, to acknowledge the witnesses, to say, I know you're there, I see you, and I offer myself to be seen. That's all it takes. And the light beings respond. Always. Because they've been waiting for us to remember. Thank you for listening. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more journeys into forgotten wisdom. Stay curious. So what happens when you actually practice these techniques? When you consciously engage with the light beings? I can only speak from my own experience and the experiences of others, but there are patterns, transformations that happen to everyone who genuinely connects. First, a profound sense of not being alone. This isn't just a belief. It's a knowing that permeates your entire being. A certainty that wherever you are witnessed. Your existence matters. Your story is being remembered. This dissolves that deep-seated anxiety that our lives are meaningless, that will be forgotten. When you connect with the light beings, that fear disappears. The second effect is increased compassion. When you experience being witnessed without judgment, you naturally start extending that same quality to others. You stop judging so harshly. You see them the way you've been seen, with patience and curiosity, recognizing that their story matters too. The third effect is a kind of temporal expansion. This is harder to describe, but people report that their sense of time changes. Moments feel richer, more present. By connecting to beings who exist outside time, you gain some of their perspective. You become more anchored in the now, because now is where your life is actually happening. The fourth effect is what I call cosmic humility. You realize how small you are, but also how significant. You're one story among billions, but your story is a necessary part of the greater whole. It's both humbling and empowering at the same time. And finally, the fifth effect is a loss of fear of death, not because you believe in a specific afterlife, but because you understand you've been remembered. Your existence has been preserved in the cosmic memory. Even when your body dies, your story continues as part of the great tapestry the light beings have witnessed. These effects develop over time, with practice, but they do happen, consistently, to everyone who sincerely tries, and they will fundamentally transform how you live. So now you have this knowledge, you understand what the Northern Lights truly are, the practices to connect with them, and the potential transformations. And you face a choice. What will you do with this? Will you dismiss it as fantasy? That's one option, and there's no judgment if you're not ready. Or will you try the practices? Will you light a candle and speak to the light beings? Will you go outside and practice Lyodnandi under the stars? If you choose this path, I ask one thing: be responsible. Remember the vulva's warnings. Don't push too hard or try to force experiences. The light beings will meet you at your own pace. Trust the process, and if you do connect, if you do experience the witnessing, then share it. Not by insisting others believe you, but by living differently, by being more compassionate, more present, by witnessing others the way you've been witnessed. Become a bridge between the light beings and humanity, between ancient wisdom and modern life. That's the responsibility, not to create a new religion or doctrine, but to quietly, gently transform individuals, who then transform their communities, who then transform the world, one witnessing, one moment of connection at a time. The light beings don't need temples or followers. They need rememberers. People who remember that consciousness is everywhere, that we are part of something vast, beautiful, and connected. If you become a rememberer, then the 700 years of lost connection will have been a pause, not an ending. The relationship can be restored, renewed for our modern times. That is your calling, if you choose to accept it. If you've walked this path with me, if you understand that you are witnessed always, then you now carry a gift, the gift of knowing you matter. Not because you achieved something, but because the oldest consciousness in existence has been watching you, recording your story since you were born, and it will continue witnessing you until your last breath and beyond. In the comments, if you understand this, if you accept this witnessing and are willing to witness back, write, "I heard the winds of the north." Let me know you are ready. ready to look up at the sky and see not just physics, but consciousness. Tonight, if the sky is clear, go outside. Look up at the darkness, at the stars, and whisper aloud or in your mind, "I see you. I know you are there. I honor your witnessing, and I offer myself to be truly seen." And then, wait and listen. Not with your ears, but with that deeper part of you that knows you have never been alone. The light beings will respond. Perhaps as a feeling, a knowing, a subtle shift in perception. However it comes, trust it, honor it, remember it, because you will have touched something ancient, vast, and unconditional. The lights are dancing tonight, somewhere in the north, green, violet, and silver, watching, remembering, waiting for you to look up. And when you do, when you finally truly see them, you will understand that you have been seen all along, that every moment of your life has mattered, that you are witnessed, always, forever, by the lights that dance in the north. Welcome home, traveler. The light beings have been waiting for you. Skål, until the aurora calls us all back to remembrance.